this last month. Is that how you say it? By words. Hey guys, hello team. My name is Monique and welcome to my December wrap-up. Welcome back to the Cauldron team. It is 2021 and this video will be for my last round on this bingo card before we switch over to a new one. It will also be my very last wrap up of 2020. Thank God that is over. I did read some very good books in December. I read a total of 10 books, which came to 3,307 pages. We are midway into a book between years, but oh well, that's just how it goes. But let's go through them. There are some good ones in here. I, however, did not make my complete TBR. This is what happens. I did swap one book, but we'll see how I go along. So in case you didn't know, I have a game called TBR Tombola, which I will leave a link to down below. You can check it out if you would like to. And basically I pull 7 numbers from a tombola machine or a bingo machine, whichever one you want to call it. And then I have added prompts to each of these, and each of these prompts I then pick a book for. I am allowed to change the book if I can. This is about me reading as much as I can. However, I am finding that TBRs help me sort of move forward, because sometimes I just don't pick a book because I have too much choice. And that's not really helpful for me reading. But anyway, let's start off. The first book that I finished was one that I started in November, and that is The Girl Who Speaks Bear by Sophie Anderson, which is a middle grade book where we follow Yanka, who was left as a child at a bear cave, and she sort of sets out to find out why she feels so different from others. She's much taller and much stronger. This is a very cute little middle grade. It has all of this flimsy and this magic. It has little cute sort of in-between stories that connects to Yanka, and I really enjoyed it. I believe I ended up giving it 3.5 stars. I didn't love it as much as I loved The House with Chicken Legs. However, I just still really enjoyed these, and I definitely will pick up more from Sophie Anderson. The first book that I, however, read officially on my TBR was Black Sun by Rebecca Roanhorse, which is an adult fantasy novel inspired by pre-Columbian America. In it we follow 2 different characters who sort of get interwoven in this very intensely magical, very violent book. We follow a sea captain who is an outcast of her own people, who gets the job to bring this young, unassuming man to a specific city at a specific time. However, usually the unassuming are much more than they seem, and a eclipse is coming up that has prophesied that it may bring about the end of the world. We also follow a priestess. We have lots of gender non-binary characters and queer characters in here. It is an absolutely beautiful piece of writing. It is a solid 5-star for me. It's my favorite book of December, and I highly recommend that you pick it up. I personally will be picking up much more Rebecca Roanhorse because she just writes stunning thing. This came on to my TBR as number 13, so let's see if it's on dash 8. It is not. Okay, so moving along. So the next book that I read, and also then its series, was The Bear and the Nightingale, followed by The Girl in the Tower and The Winter of the Witch. This is a Russian inspired fairy tale where we follow a girl from girlhood to womanhood. We have a city inspired by Moscow. We have lots of political intrigue. We have spirits. We have magic. I absolutely adored this whole series. I'm so glad that I can finally both click it off of my TBRs and also just finally having read it. I really adored the first 2 books. I gave them 4 stars. However, what took my heart was the 5th book, The Winter of the Witch, and it holds my heart gently and softly, and I absolutely adored it. I highly recommend this series, and I'm really glad that I finally got to read it because it's so cute. The Bear and Nightingale came onto my TBR as number 65, which was a friend pick. My friend Sean absolutely loves this series and has been trying to make me read it for ages. So let's see if 65 is on my little bingo sheet. It's not. Moving along, the next book I read was another stunning sci-fi, and it is The First Sister by Linden A. Lewis, which is a sort of sci-fi space opera where we are following two different characters in this split world. So it seems that humanity had to leave Earth because it became too toxic, and they split in two. They split into one that is very technology advanced and one which is very sort of dependent on the natural and thinks about people only being natural, and are also part of having this religious sect. And one of our main characters is the first sister. She has no name, she has no voice, and she is sort of an envoy on this spaceship where people can then profess to her, but then also sort of use her, and to keep herself safe. To become first sister, you have to have this special bond with the captain. However, a new captain is taking over her spaceship, and so she is trying to cement her position. We also follow a young man who has been part of the wars, who gets sent out to sort of kill the matriarch of this religion. It is supremely well written. It is massive for such a short little book, and I cannot wait for the next book. There is a twist in here that I did not see coming. There is also a ton of LGBT rep. There is a gender non-binary character, and I'm so very excited about finding out what comes next. The First Sister came onto my TBR as a sci-fi book for number 32, so let us check if it is on my bingo sheet. It is! We can cross out a number. Woohoo! You ready? Boom, boom. Next book I read is another book that I have been meaning to read for quite a while, and that is A Phoenix First Must Burn, edited by Patrice Caldwell. This is a series of short stories inspired by black girl magic. We have sci-fi, we have some fantasy, we have a superhero story in here. It is all written by black, female, or gender non-binary authors. I loved a few of these. There is one in here by Justina Ireland. There's a few where I will be picking up something else from the author. And there's also a few in here where I'm a little bit like iffy. So I ended up giving it 3.5 stars. Thoroughly enjoyed it, and definitely will be picking up more from these authors. However, I also think that short story anthologies are a really easy way to support quite a lot of few authors. Why can't I talk today? Is also a really easy way to support quite a few authors in one go, and also a way to sort of get little snippets of new writing so that you can figure out what you like. Came onto my TBR as 54, which is a magical realism book, which part of this was, so it still counts. But let's see if 54 is on the number sheet. Din, 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 din. It is not. The next book is one that just sort of snuck in there and now has actually taken the number of another book that I did not actually get to, and that is the short story When the Tiger Came Down the Mountain by Nghi, which is the second book in the Singing Hills series. This is a short story fantasy sort of following a gender non-binary historian called Nghi in a Vietnamese, East Asian inspired fantasy world where they are set out to collect stories for their sort of monastery. And in this one we are following Nghi and another companion who accidentally may have to tell a story to these very hungry tigers to keep them from eating them. So we have a sorceress, we have a tiger that falls in love with them. There is queer love and beautiful love, and I am so in love with this book. This is a solid 5 star, as well as the first book, The Empress of Salt and Fortune. I highly recommend that you pick these up, and I really want Nghi's new book, The Chosen and the Beautiful, which comes out later this year, which is a full-length novel, and I cannot wait. So this book actually took the number for a new release, which is number 76, which the book The Mask Falling officially had. However, I did not get to The Mask Falling because I decided to reread the series before it, so that will hopefully be happening in January. But yes, this was now number 76. Let's see if it is on my little sheet. Din 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 din. It is! The last 2 books on this list, we have The Song of Achilles by Madeline Miller, which comes onto my TBR as a Booktube favourite for my chance card. This is the story of Achilles and Patrice, who was his closest advisor and best friend. However, in this book, he is also his lover. It is the story of the fall of Troy from yet another different perspective. I'm really sad to say that I ended up not loving this as much as I thought I would. I absolutely adored Madeline Miller's Circe, which is another Greek mythology retelling. This one, I feel like, might just be rated a little lower because I have been reading a lot of Greek sort of inspired stories that sort of surround the fall of Troy, and I felt like even though we are seeing it from Patroclus' perspective, which is a new one, it is still very much a sort of soft perspective and one which is more spectator than action. And I feel like Achilles, because he is the god, just sort of, or the god born, just sort of automatically takes more focus, which was not really what I wanted. I did love a couple of the twists in this one, and yeah, no, the writing as always is really beautiful. I ended up giving it 3 stars, maybe 3.5. I'm going to give it another chance at another point, but however, I am just glad to have this off my TBR now. It came in at number 48, so let's see if it's on the the scorecard, the bingo card, the thingy. Is it there? It is not. And then last but not least, yes, I decided to reread the Bone Season series before I read The Mask Fallen, which I did put on. It was a bit of like over-exaggerated TBR. That's not the word I was looking for. What's the word? Over-ambitious TBR, because I did ended up putting the entire series of The Bear and the Nightingale on it, and then also the whole series of The Bone Season. But I did finish a reread of The Bone Season by Samantha Shannon, which I think is quite funny because this is my last book of 2020. It was also my first book of 2020. I really enjoyed this book. In case you did not know, The Bone Season follows Paige Mahoney, who is a clairvoyant in London. It is a world much like our own. However, in this one, clairvoyancy is real, but it is also illegal. And so Paige Mahoney is a militia for a sort of underneath London like syndicate. So basically they are criminals. One day she gets caught on the train by this elite police force called Skyen, and she gets brought to a whole new location. This book took me a lot by surprise because you are not at all prepared for the big way that this world is blown open. It is a solid 4-star for me again this time, and I really enjoyed it, and I'm very excited about continuing it on. Paige is wonderful. The characters in here are like intense and I love them, but I also feel so bad for them. This is a really hardcore cut world. It is definitely an adult read, not one I would say, oh yeah, read it as a young one, but I'm very excited about finding out more about this world and what else we can find. I put a few tabs in there. This is my 10-book wrap-up for December. I had some good reads, I had some solid reads, and I had some, yeah, they were okay reads, but I still read down my TBR by a bit, and I am proud of the fact that I almost got through my TBR. I changed one, and then I did miss one. I did miss Kings of the Wild, which is an adult fantasy novel that I now will be reading in January, because I've decided that my rules are now that if I just don't read a book on that TBR, it is just automatically going to go and be an additional book on my next month's TBR. So we'll see how that goes, because there are a lot of books that I need to read in January. But I hope you enjoyed this. If you did, don't forget to hit the thumbs up button, hit the subscribe button at the same time so you don't miss out on any other videos from me. I upload quite regularly. I am working on some funky stuff, and if you would like to see it, you can also click the little bell, which will give you a notification when I put up a new video. And then remember, I'm proud of you, you're doing great, and I will see you guys soon with another video. Bye bye.